Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I'm Doc Rod, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we are reviewing Fever Dream, streaming this Halloween on Netflix. Looking forward to doing that. Let me introduce the crew, starting off with Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
Here. I'm good. How are you?
Okay.
I'm doing good. Also joining us this week is Crystal Cleveland, the living dead girl. How you doing?
¿Dónde está ella?
¿Dónde está el baño? What?
That's fair.
Focus on the
Hey,
details.
you gotta go. You gotta go. All right, let's welcome special guest host, award-winning filmmaker, Christopher G. Mohr. How you doing, sir?
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
Yeah, that works.
Tú estás muy bien.
Like that was better.
Sorry, we're not sponsored by Taco Bell, but we could.
But we could be.
Yeah.
If they would
I'd
only-
be totally cool with
pimp it.
that.
I will start
Knowledge
eating at
never
Taco
exists.
Bell more often.
Is
Which
that even
means-
possible?
Is that
sir?
possible?
No, that's not
All
possible.
right.
Not possible.
Okay, what we're going to do tonight, folks, is we are going to give our first impression of Fever Dream. That will be spoiler free. Then we'll dive into a discussion, and we will dive into the spoilers. How you doing?
I wasn't
Using your psychokinetic powers there.
Then we will wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. All right, before we get into that, we want to thank you for hanging out with us. We hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others that we have on the site. And if you want to help us out, it's really easy and free to do. Hit the subscribe button or the like button or share with a friend. Those are awesome things to do. And of course, most of all, we want to hear what you think in the
Yes,
comments down
Please
below.
do, or we'll send you to the greenhouse
The greenhouse. Oh.
to watch the film to know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
All right. What film are we talking about? Fever Dream, streaming on Netflix beginning October 13th, 2021. Written and directed by Claudia Llosa, based on the novel by Samanta Schweblin. I can't win with these names.
Oh, maybe you shouldn't read that cast.
Well, this is going to be interesting, folks. Hold on to your seats. The cast includes Maria Valverde, Dolores, Fonzi, Emilio Vodanovich, Guillermina, Sorribes, Liotta, and Guillermo Pfening.
Good enough.
Maybe. I think I might have scored a 52 on that. All right. Synopsis is it will tell the haunting story of broken souls, toxins, looming environmental and spiritual catastrophes, and the ties that bind the parents to a child. Not until you get older do they become lies to bind. Okay, let's go. All right, let's start off with our first impressions. Christopher, you are up first.
Yeah.
Visually, this
Yes.
is a beautiful film. There's some really beautiful cinematography that's going on in this. Structure-wise, it's a mess. It's narration within narration, flashbacks within flashbacks. It's confusing, to say the least. I mean, you sort of figure out maybe 75% in what the hell's happening, and even then, so you don't know exactly by the end. You don't know. I don't know what happened. I mean, it's got some good performances, I guess, but I was just confused. And I don't like the story format. I think a lot of times when you use narration, it can be a crutch for writers. And with this one, you have like narration within narration. You have somebody explaining a story to someone about the other person explaining the story to someone. And it's like this sort of Inception level of storytelling does not work. It doesn't work for your big, whatever, if you want to call it a twist by the end of it. I mean, I don't know. A lot of it's just talking, talking in cars, talking near the water, explaining certain things, and then even by the end of it, I'm not sure I exactly understand what happened. Because I don't know. I guess also I had expectations of how it was going to sort of turn out, but and it didn't even go that direction. It went more of a boring direction, to be honest. So I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt. You know, I thought, well, maybe this will, by the end, it'll tie it up in a nice little bow. But it was just, I felt like I had a fever by the end of it, and I was having illusion as to what's happening in this film because it felt like something a vision you would have if you had a fever, like a really like if COVID set in and you had a huge fever. Visually, this is what you would see because it's very artistically out there, I guess. But again, the cinematography is beautiful. There's some really gorgeous shots and stuff. I'm not really exactly sure what they were trying to go for here. So, and as a filmmaker, I want to sort of like feel like I understood it, but the visuals only take you so far. Yeah, I feel like I Fever Dream's a very apropos name for this film because it feels like a dream you would have if you had a fever. So I know that's not a very positive first impression, but that's my first impression. I wanted to take Tylenol by the end of it.
Yeah, it sounds like Christopher needs more cowbell. All right, Crystal.
Yes.
Different fever. How you doing, Crystal? What was your first impression of Fever Dream?
I agree with Christopher. It's like, so I have had a delirious fever before. It's like 105 when I was a child, and I remember like hallucinating ice on a clock and stuff. I actually do remember it, and I have to agree with him about this. Here's a big issue with the story. It's gonna kind of spoil some of it, but what's happening is toxins in the air and all this stuff, and only almost toward the end, everything is contained within these two ladies and their two children. So you don't even understand the impact of what's happening until you see all these children like apparently crossing. It's just it's awful. It does. I understand what they wanted to go for. They wanted to show like these ecological effects with them spraying the crops and this, but it didn't have an impact at all. Like this movie was super boring. It didn't mean that it didn't make me sad at a point, because it is a sad movie, but it is an artsy fartsy movie. That's just a fact. It is. It's a horror. I'll give it that, sure, but it's not one that is in my preferred wheelhouse. I do think everything was done well. I think the cinematography is excellent, like you said. I think that sound is good. I think that a lot of the character development between the women is nice, and even between the women and the children. But they could, even with as much character development as it had, you couldn't get me to care about a lot of what I should have cared about in this movie. Mm-hmm. So they didn't set out to accomplish what they wanted to with me. I mean, if they wanted to make an impact about this environmental stuff, they should have brought in more children earlier. There should have been a lot. It didn't have the punch it should have had, unfortunately. And I think it could have been truly horrific and really cool had they been, dealing with a lot of this happening to these children. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I think of ways they could have done it that could have really made it spooky and have a bigger impact, but no. But I enjoyed it in a way.
Yeah, I wonder if things got lost in translation. Be interesting to discuss that. All right, Jeff Mohr, sir, what was your first impression of Fever Dream?
Pass.
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you might have really liked it. I was really like.
Well, I'm kind of between the two of you. I think it was beautiful. I found it interesting. I kept looking for the details.
Yeah, pay attention.
But
exactly. Yes.
It was there was too many details to, I don't know. So again, I liked it. I liked how it looked. I liked sort of that concept, but it was just too opaque. Tell me what happened. Tell me from the start.
Oh yeah.
Focus on the details. So that made me. I was always thinking about that. And then the opening scene, which I don't think will be a spoiler. I've seen it in some other reviews, where you just see her laying on her back, getting dragged through the grass, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's saying, "Is that you, David?" And so anyway, but it is. I mean, I think I know what happens at the end, but I'm kind of like Crystal in that it didn't really have an impact on me. I was sort of like, it was I was left unsatisfied. Let's put it that way.
I like that. I like that.
I mean, there's so much possibility there. The greenhouse, the woman there, almost sort of a pet cemetery type.
That's what I was thinking.
Situation, but
they kind of go there. They kind of do.
Kind of.
No.
But they
So
don't.
anyway,
They don't
yeah,
commit.
yeah.
Well, it sort of goes there, but
Well, and I kind of got focused on that idea of she was talking about the rescue distance, because I knew that was the original title of the book it was based on.
Oh.
But
Okay.
that I don't know that really how that would have tied in. So I'm gonna make a totally uneducated assumption that the book is different, or maybe that is educated. They're always different. Anyway,
maybe.
I'll stop rambling.
Yeah, my impression isn't terribly different. I was fascinated at first by this unusual choice in narration and narrative. I usually, it lost me very quickly, but I'm not a fan of a lot of narration in a film. It usually doesn't work. I think, Christopher, you were going on that as well. But at first, I will admit that I liked this idea. It felt like something was going on, but I don't know if they, for me at least, they didn't tie it in seamlessly enough. I mean, it's there, and it's there if you want to make the connection and the tether, if you will, to it. But it, I don't know. It got frustrating, and it got slow, quick. It went really quick to get slow, and then nothing really happens. But everything happens. It's really strange. There's a lot that it kind of. Okay, so we talk a lot about show don't tell, and this it does a lot of that, but it also does a lot of exposition at the same time, and it almost feels like it's doing both of those things in two different directions. It's like really working hard to.
Yeah, but it's talk don't tell.
Yeah, well, there is some talk don't tell, and then there's show don't. Whatever, and yeah, it's just really it's really a bizarre film, and it just didn't work for me, but yet I'm oddly fascinated by it.
Well, it plays around with different. I mean, this film could also be called Bad Moms, because I don't know how many times I was like, why are you letting your kid run that? I mean, there's just so many moments that their kids, they deserve to have sick kids, because they're just letting them run everywhere. Yeah. And then they almost, I don't know about you guys, but I felt like there was moments where it almost felt like they were trying to have some kind of romantic relationship between the two women.
Oh, definitely.
But then they sort of like
just
they let it go. They didn't do anything with it. And then like the one mom, I mean, I guess we're already in spoiler territory.
Yeah, we're in spoilers now.
But the crazy mom, like, she just disappears. I don't even.
Well, she finally got the courage to do what she always wanted to do because of her relationship with the other woman.
I feel like you're inferring that you've read that into it, but I didn't see that. I didn't see that at all. I felt like she just do what?
Oh, okay. No, keep going.
No. I mean, because by the end of it, I didn't even understand it. I was like, I don't know. I mean, because I don't know. I this film just had me very confused. I wanted to find some kind of semblance of meaning to what they're doing, but it didn't. That it was just like so many different elements, from the horse to all these other things that I didn't. It was there, and
Well, there
there
was
wasn't enough connecting material to it. It's like these muscles that just lay there that were not connected to legs to make the story walk.
there was a couple times that during the conversations that they were having and that they were talking about let's get the character's name here so we can reference it. Corolla is the mom that lives in the town, and then Amanda's the one that is the lead of the story. She's the one that's visiting, and she there's two things going on. One, she's very envious or jealous even of Amanda's going from town to town to town, getting to see the world because she's always stuck there. And then she also wants a child that isn't like David, and that's what she sees in Nina. And so it seemed like a no-brainer that her and half Nina went off on their own adventure.
It bothered me a little bit.
But then
Actually,
the father said that the daughter was sick, so the daughter was with the father.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, because they split in half.
But the daughter's still.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes,
What-
yes.
what-
She didn't.
yeah,
she
what-
didn't run off with the daughter. Yes, I agree
She
with
just
what
ran
you're
off to
saying.
go
Right.
do what
Okay, yeah, that's why you make confused.
But
So-
so I gotta ask you, Crystal, because so it to me it's implied that, and we're spoilering, so
Spoiling.
the children that walk across, right? We see all these disfigured children.
Are they
And
disfigured or just
Some
strange?
of them are, not all
yeah,
of them.
some of
are.
them were. And she
Disfigured,
said,
yeah.
and then the woman in the town goes, "Yeah, all of the children in this town have something wrong." Or
Yeah,
something
because
like that,
and it's
right?
because of the whole.
Yeah, and I'm
Mhm.
going, what the? And they just keep doing it. I mean, what the?
And that's exactly
You
why I
don't-
feel like you didn't find this out until like toward the end. I feel like had they started alluding to that sooner and bringing in maybe a couple other children, well, this child, went to see the Green Lady, whatever they wanted to carriage it as, I'd be fine. But it kind of bothered me that she had such a problem with her child, David, because he reminded me of an autistic child.
Mhm.
And I was a little bit offended by that.
Well,
And the fact that he's not as messed up as she would pretend to be, because he was fine with that other lady. I was like, she's just a bad mom. Like, maybe her, I don't know, got real bothered by that. I find that offensive. That's all.
Well, she also fell victim to the legend, the urban legend, about what she did with him, and she was all in that he wasn't who he was.
He wasn't. Yeah, but did you see with Amanda? He's like, he's not a bad kid, and she's like, something's gonna happen. Like, I just, I wanted
It was
to
a little
smack
weird
her.
that he
I
shot
wanted to
bad.
smack her.
he did throw a thing through the door, so
Yeah, but he's a kid. I mean,
well,
like-
but still, that's even if you're a kid, I don't, that's kind of violent, a very violent thing to do.
yeah.
Although I did get scared the shit out of me when he showed up in that window.
Oh.
It did make me jump because like, oh god.
But he was actually trying to save Amanda at the end.
Well,
and like he didn't kill those freaking geese. He just buried them. I mean, I believe that. I believe what he said.
Well,
I-
I guess that's the problem with the whole story is it's just saying that this person isn't possessed. They're just
Different.
they have some kind of mental issues that they're and so then you kind of feel, I mean, yeah, for me I just felt bad that, oh god, they're portraying this kid as being evil, but all they're
Yeah.
doing is that they're probably like
Making it
on,
worse.
on like some kind of autism spectrum or some kind of some kind of issue based on being exposed to the weed killer or whatever they're using. So then by the end of it you're like, oh god, that's not the kind of M Night twist we need for this film. I kind of hope that it would have been. I would have rather it just been about supernatural stuff.
Well, they do.
Yeah.
They still lean into that. They don't let
Right.
that go throughout the entire movie. Like they.
But then it made me question that in itself. I didn't.
What do you mean by that?
Because I didn't. I don't. I think some of these people go to those people, and maybe they're shams. They're not. They're not. They're feeding into these people thinking they can be helpful. But
Well, I thought the final scene hinted back at that being.
it hinted
a
back
part
at it,
too.
but then
About
I
the
I just
daughter,
felt
right?
like
The
that
daughter
the kid
Mhm.
wanted to be part of a family, and he just grabbed onto the same doll that the girl had. That's all I saw that is. So I didn't even see
The
that
act
as
is
That
being.
different.
could be too.
I
That
well, I
could be
saw
too.
him acting different. The way he was tilting the head, he was behaving like she was.
Well, but
That's what I saw. That's what I saw.
Yeah.
I think he could have been He could have been copying her because he's been
Autistic
around
children
her.
do
Sure.
that.
Autistic
Sure.
children will copy other people.
That's what autistic
So
children
to
do
me,
seem
because it
normal.
wasn't as clear cut,
Yep.
it just felt like the kid wanted to feel like wanted to feel loved, and the other mom made him feel loved.
Yeah, she was
So he's going to
way
be
better.
attracted to that because his own mom thinks he's freaking like Omen, kid.
He even abandons him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but why not go with her then, or like? Well, he jumped into the car. They pull him out. He doesn't fight or anything, right?
Well,
Well, he struggles.
he
but-
did. Yeah.
I guess he did,
He held on to the roof and didn't want to get out, but
but he doesn't. I don't know. He doesn't wave or chase after her. Or,
Well,
I don't know.
I think
Do we-
he's
after
not.
the dad, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
did
think he knows
did
better.
the other mom die, or I mean
Yeah.
she died,
Yeah.
but what happened to her body? Did she
Oh.
just is she still floating in a boat out there in the water? I mean,
Maybe.
there's like so many questions I have about how this played out. I don't.
But I didn't mind the ambiguity of the ending as much. It was just all the yakety yak to get there.
And
Well,
these
that's-
other children, why didn't they just I would have loved to have seen like bringing in these other children throughout and seeing that something strange is happening. Like what he said, you must have come in contact with a worm or whatever. So I thought, okay, is there some sort of worm creature or worm around there that's, doing this to the kids or whatever? And like, there's so much they could have done with this. And instead, they focused on the most boring parts of the story. I guess they thought you would care more about the characters if they focused on the moms. But it,
Yeah, I kept waiting. This is a typical movie for me where I feel like they're building up to a big,
yeah.
and it didn't quite.
It didn't. It never did that. Yeah.
No,
No,
was,
it's like they kept pumping up that tire, and they're like, "Fee," and they just let it go, and nothing's gonna happen here.
Yeah, it's too bad, isn't it?
You watch this
Like,
tire inflate for no reason. Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Ta-da!
And then it just
Flavor
maybe
Town.
just pick at certain things like, oh, why does she just leave her car open? Why does she leave her windows down in her car? I mean, I know that she's out in the middle of nowhere, but still, I mean, there's, I don't know. I had too many
it's
issues
super
with-
weird. Yeah.
logic and
I feel like
decisions, and
some of it's lost in translation. I really do. There's something.
I think it'd
It's
be
not.
easy for you to
Not-
blame it on that, but I think
No.
no matter what.
I could understand a lot of it.
well,
so.
I think there could have
Is
been there could be some Spanish, or South
Traditions
American
or something.
tradition or legend or mythology or something.
Well, the
that
whole
feeds
thing with the
into it.
lady down the river.
Yeah.
The man in the van down by the river.
Well, but I mean that
It
there's still.
doesn't help. Though.
But most
It's more
movies, a lot of
common.
times you can still turn off the audio and you can still sort of understand what's happening and stuff. So I think, regardless of whatever piece of dialogue, doesn't make up for the fact that it's probably going to be
Yeah, it's
confusing
just-
no matter what you
it's-
do.
Yeah, it's just a possibility. I mean,
Mm.
Yeah,
If it would have been different, Doc. I would agree with you if they hadn't tried to bring in the pesticides.
because visually you could watch that and you know what's happening. You don't have to have them spell out. They don't
Yeah.
even actually say it. You just see it visually. So
Yeah.
there's no mistranslation of what's happening there.
It's like, I got something on my dress. It's all wet. Like, it's obvious that they were alluding to the pesticides as being the whole issue here. And that's why all the children in this village were affected. And
That's
then
why
I
they
guess
have the little flashback of like,
Yeah.
oh, it's just dew, and
and the mutations I guess were probably children that weren't even born yet. And I could see how it could affect children more adversely than the adults because they're probably playing in the wheat fields or whatever. But it lost all impact. It just didn't have the impact.
Because even at the very beginning, when the first time it says, pay attention to details, there's a dog, a three-legged dog. You see the three-legged dog, so you know that something is doing things to the
Amiss. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. I didn't like it, but I feel like
You
there's
wanna
more
try
to it than we're grasping at. But let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score, and our favorite scene. Christopher G. Mohr, you're up first.
I kind of want to call this Weed Killer Cemetery, but
Yes.
it's
Dust crappers.
you know what? I will focus on the strength. The strengths are in the visuals. The cinematography is really well done. There's some really beautiful. There's a moment where you see from the point of view of the girl in the boat, and you see like the reflection of the water on the trees above her. And I mean, there's some really beautiful shots like that are really framed really well. Whether it's within looking from inside the house to outside. So the cinematographer was on his or her A game. Everything else is a little bit of a mess. It's dialogue inception is what I call it, because it's like dialogue narration within narration, and it becomes a little bit more of a chatty Cathy more than it needs to be, when other parts of it, all you got to do is show something visual to make it happen. I think when you have to over explain something, even if it's in its native language, you're going to have an issue. And it's just a lot of it's just conversations talking about what happened as opposed to just show it. I mean, I think if you restructure this, it would be a little bit of better film. But I think by the end of it, it kind of it let the air out of its own balloon that should have popped by the end of it. It's a really of a mess of a film, which is kind of sad because to be shot so beautifully and to sort of lose its way, it sinks like the boat into the muddy toxicity of the dialogue and the story. So I will. I'll give it a 1.75.
1.75. Ouch.
1.7. You know what? I'll be nice and give it a 2 for the visuals. How about that?
I don't want to
be too mean.
I think that's worthy. I
don't want to be too mean, but I usually go higher because but I mean, the just talking about it now has infuriated me. I don't want to think about.
More angry.
It's giving me a fever. It's giving me a fever headache. I'll give it a 2.
And nobody's got a car.
Did you give us a favorite scene?
Oh no!
Do I have to? Let's
poop out something.
I will say the scene where they go to the greenhouse, the child cemetery house. I guess is more appropriate. When they go to the witch's house or whatever, the weirdo grandma's house, right? The weirdo abuela's house. When they go to that, the old lady, because it's just it's kind of it's gross when they have that little weird substance floating underneath the door. It's like, oh god, you see him walking at bare feet. It's like, this is grossing me out. Okay. I'll say that. That's maybe when I go watch Pet Sematary instead.
Oh wow. All right, Crystal, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score and favorite scene.
So see, like, that's what I was explaining. Like when I don't like a movie, I just have to determine whether it pisses me off or not. And if if it does, that's usually when I'm like, no. This one, It bothered me, but it didn't piss me off. So I will give it a 2.5. And that is because I think it's well made. I think it's well shot. I think the acting is fine. It's good in some places. And I think they had a basic concept there. There's plenty of other movies I'd hate to watch. Although I wouldn't really want to watch this again. Oof. Um,
Too much of an investment. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Wow.
long. It feels long. And my favorite scene is when I just found it super creepy when Corolla is over the little girl while she's sleeping. I really
Oh,
didn't
that
like it.
was creepy.
Yeah, it
That was
bothered me big.
creepy.
I was like, God, ew, are you like? I felt like she was being a pedophile. Really, it was gross. If it was a guy in that position, we would all be on high alert and we'd probably beat the poop out of him. Okay, so
When she's whispering, like,
yeah, ugh.
you're my sleepy doll.
Yeah, I was like, no,
Ugh.
nah, that's disgusting. It really grossed me out.
It was off-putting for certain. Jeff, sir, what is your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene?
Well, this isn't for everybody. I think some people may enjoy this because it is. I mean, it's well titled. It's like a
Yeah,
fever dream, and it's
yeah,
kind of hallucinatory, and it's disjointed in the storytelling. You have to kind of pick up how the story is being told, whether is David in her head talking to her, is David outside of her saying those things. It's uh, and I think I'm still missing something there. I'm going to go 2.5 as well because it's beautiful, it's well acted, um, and it got me right at the beginning and that's going to be my favorite scene is when the opening scene where she's laying in the grass talking, is that you, David? And David's saying, focus on the detail. The next thing you know, we see her start sliding out of frame as somebody pulls her. That got me hooked in for quite a while, looking to see where that was going to go. So yeah, that's about all I can say, I guess.
Yeah, I have the same kind of problems with the movie. It hooked me early, like Jeff said. I was interested. The narration was, they felt like we were we were inside somebody's head watching what this person was trying to get out of them, and I like that. But that wore thin pretty quick. If I don't know. I don't want to try to say there's a better way of doing it. It just, for me, it just wore thin, and I didn't really want any more of it. And it's like, did it stop relying on that later on? I think it might have. I mean, eventually, I think it caught up with itself. But then again, I'm not entirely certain. Uh, I I did keep trying to pay attention and look for details, but I didn't know if I was finding anything because nothing was adding up. So except for the obvious, outside of the obvious, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, there's got to be. I always thought there's got to be more, right? There's got to be more to this, and I don't know if there was. So I think somebody said something about at the end they weren't satisfied, and I think that's the biggest problem. It just doesn't have this satisfying conclusion or resolution or bite to it that something to get you talking and keep you interested. It's just but at the same time there's something gnawing at me about this, so but I'm still only giving it 2.25, so a little less than the two of you, but a little bit more than Christopher, strangely enough. And my favorite scene is going to be toward the end. Yeah, toward the end when she's on the boat and she's lying in the boat and she's actually down in the the very it's small, it's just a rowboat, but she's at the bottom and the water is like seeping through, like
Yeah, it keeps seeping up.
it keeps coming up and going down as it goes through and I just thought I was so fascinated by that small detail. But there were other things going on because her eyes there was something going on with her eyes and she was seeing all the sparkles. I think Christopher, you mentioned that, and I don't know. It to me it's like, is she on like the ferry boat? Is this like some kind of equivalent to like the Egyptian ferryman or something? I'm not really sure what's going on here.
I felt it was a visual representation of her mentality or whatever. I didn't even think that was real, to be honest. The water raising and going down, because it felt like she was sort of going in and out of her consciousness or whatever.
That's
And so I
interesting.
felt like it was more of a visual type thing. I mean, I did kind of like that. It was kind of interesting, but then it didn't make sense. I was like, that little boy's going to drown.
I know.
Taking that
Well,
sick lady.
yeah. Well, I didn't think the boat was sinking, but
I did.
did you?
Well, I mean, that's
But I mean, I guess I haven't been
just
on.
add one more
rowboats.
question to the
Yeah.
to the list.
Yeah. So, yeah, something happened.
Yeah.
Maybe other people, when they watch it, they'll find a different
They'll love
interpretation.
It. They'll be like,
or
"This is the
interest in it.
greatest movie
I d-
ever."
Well,
It
it felt like a French David Lynch.
Oh my God, it does.
It felt like it had a David Lynchness to it,
Yeah.
like that weirdness to it that doesn't make sense, and it also almost had that sort of French,
Feel.
even though it's more Spanish. It had a Frenchness to it, just the storyline, how it's like a lot of talking, a lot of talking scenes, and I don't
Spain
know.
isn't that
Yeah.
far from France, so
If they'd have just
that's
had
true.
more cowbell, that's what it
More
needed.
cowbell. Yeah, it was the countries of origin are Chile, Peru,
I'm not kidding.
Spain, Argentina, and the U.S. for a little bit.
Yeah, I think I saw it was shot in Chile. Chile.
All right, Chile. All right, there you go. That's our review of Fever Dream. It is streaming on Netflix. Check it out and let us know what you think down below. Crystal, Jeff, thank you for joining me, and Christopher, thanks for coming on for this. We hope we see more of you in this October season.
I'm always here when you need me.
All right.
I'll have less of a fever next time.
That's a fever. Why do you sound like? Well, never mind. Doesn't matter. Anyway, Christopher Walken. You just gotta sound like Christopher Walken. All right, let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good evening.
More cowbell.
Bye, everybody.
Gruesome Magazine.